What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to another Fridge Financials video. And in today's video, we are examining the cost of living by states in 2024 as of right now. So we're going to be looking at data, best states to live in, worst states to live in, how cost of living is broken down, what does it mean, and kind of go from there. So if you're excited for today's video or curious to know if you live in the U.S., of course, which state, where your state falls in, make sure that you like the video and subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notifications for all future uploads. Okay, let's take a look at this data and see. Let's see where we're at here. I'm going to put my state on here. Obviously, my state is Connecticut, so I live in Connecticut. So we'll see where my state ranks as well and go from there. So the rising cost of living remains a prominent concern across the U.S., with surveys showing that Americans rank inflation as one of the top problems facing the country. I feel like every video I make now, somehow inflation is always thrown into it. I don't know what it is. I made the video, my last video was about Gen Z doing fraud and saying that's because of inflation, stuff like that. Like all my videos now recently just seem to always circle back to this idea of inflation and all these crazy prices and everything else. As prices continue to soar in nearly every aspect of life, from groceries to transportation to housing, it seems sticky inflation has a hand in everything. Sticky inflation, guys, is just basically just like the prices are still increasing, but it's not going crazy. It's like sticking around. It's staying around essentially. So those higher prices are staying around. So it's like stuck there. So that's kind of what that means. With today's affordability challenges in mind, Forbes advisors set out to investigate how states rank across essential expenditures, including housing costs, transportation, healthcare, food, and income taxes, by looking at public data, of course. So we'll take a look here and we're going to look at it. So it's going to talk about total cost of living and disposable income and how it works. We're going to look at the states. We're going to sort it highest to lowest, lowest to highest, and we're going to see where we are falling into. And I'm going to zoom in here so that way we can get a nice little view about what it is that we are looking at. So for cost of living, these are, it looks like, the states that are sorted by lowest to highest first. So these are the lowest states that have a cost of living. So the cost of living, the cheapest 10 states in the country: Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Tennessee, South Carolina, West Virginia, Kansas, Missouri. As you will understand with these states here, think about the location of these. Southern part of the states, or southern part of the country, and also towards the Midwest area out that way. Mississippi is in the south. You got Alabama in the south, New Mexico. Like you can look, and you will hear this all the time. And if you ever hear people talk about, I'm going to retire to go to Florida, the reason why people are retiring to move south is A, the weather is nicer, but B, also the cost of living is cheaper. And the reason why they're doing this is because they think about how the math works here, right? Disposable income is basically saying you take your average salary and subtract the cost of living and figure that's how much you have basically left over. Okay, so if we go down to here, average salary by state here, we can go to the lowest one. So Mississippi's average salary is $47,569, right? So the average salary is $47,000 for Mississippi, and Mississippi's cost of living is $32,000. So you take this number right here, $47,000 minus the 32 gives you that $15,000 disposable income, basically what's left over for you to have for other things, right? And again, cost of living breaks down into things like transportation, housing. You'll see it breaking down a little bit later on in this video about how we talk about it. But what really usually happens and what people do is they'll retire to the southern parts, whether it's Florida, whether it's, Alabama, Georgia, whatever you want to think about, they'll retire down towards that way. The reason why is because, again, they're not working, they're retiring. So they're not going to have a salary anymore. There's no more salary because they're retired, they're done working. So you have their portfolios, their investments are going to be the ones that are paying them to live and to relax and to enjoy life. So when you retire, you have no more income, you're going to move towards the cheaper places that have cheaper cost of living, down towards the south, Mississippi, Arkansas, Kansas, all those kind of things. So, really interesting. And the top 10, I wonder if you can guess it, before I sort this to go to the highest ones, make sure to comment down below which state you think has the highest cost of living. I'm just really hoping I don't see Connecticut, because I will cry. But so let's take a look. So 3, 2, 1. You have Hawaii at number 1, which makes sense. Hawaii, as you know, is an island. So, they have to pay a lot of things for all their goods and services, and expenses are super high compared to other places because they're an island, right? They have to pay for the importing, the exporting, all that kind of stuff there. It's not as easy as access as it is to other states. So yeah, Massachusetts at number 2 with $54,000 about. Connecticut down at number 9 at $46,912, but with a disposable income of $26,000, which is ranked 4th. So, that ain't too bad. Washington, kind of shocking about Washington, honestly. You never really hear much about Washington. So you got Hawaii, Massachusetts, California, New York. These make sense. New Jersey, there's a lot of like wealthy people that do live out in New Jersey, I know. Alaska, again, same thing, similar to Hawaii with imports, exports, everything else. Maryland, Washington, Connecticut, Oregon. Oregon, I'm interesting. I never would have guessed Oregon, to be honest with you. So we have those are the 10 highest states that have a highest cost of living, and everything else. So again, Hawaii need about $55,491 to live on. Your disposable income after that is $9,000, which is ranked 50th. So that is absolutely crazy. So let's take a look at more, again, average salary by state, as we already kind of talked about it. So the cheapest states, or the lowest salaries for per state, Mississippi, Arkansas, West Virginia. You'll see a lot of states repeat themselves because, again, lower cost of living, lower wages, lower health cares, lower this, lower that, higher salary and everything else. So top 10 lowest state annual average wages or annual salaries: Mississippi, Arkansas, West Virginia, South Dakota, Alabama, so on, so on, so on. Idaho, we have not seen yet. Kentucky, we've also not seen yet on those lists. So those are the little, ones that just snuck in here. And then the highest ones, Connecticut is on there at 6, which is actually true. Connecticut is one of the higher ones, and we'll talk about why a little bit later on. But as you'll notice, a lot of these states here are focused on the Northeast region. Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, all the way up in that northeastern part of the country. California is out west, Washington out west. Again, you don't see any states down from the south in these top 10 of average salaries here. But again, the idea behind it is that since you have higher average salaries, you have higher cost of living. Lower with lower, higher with higher. It's just how it works. The interesting thing to note here, though, now I'm thinking about it, Hawaii's number 1 here for cost of living at $55,000. They are not even on the top 10 in average salary. Which, again, that's where the disposable income comes from, because disposable income is the salary minus cost of living. Hawaii's not on here. So, absolutely crazy. States with the highest transportation. So, highest transportation. Oh, look, Hawaii, number 1. California, Alaska. Again, imports, exports, Hawaii and Alaska. Again, the traveling around those is not easy. California is just California, where it has all the, all those wealthy people out that way. It's a big state. Craziness out in California. Nevada, Washington, Oregon, Delaware, Idaho. This one's a little bit of a mix of everything. You have, some out west. You have some in the northeast here. It's a little bit of everything, which is really interesting to think about. Average transportation cost, though, $7,458. So these are the top 10 that we're looking at here. And the lowest, Rhode Island, Connecticut has one of the lowest ones. I did not even know that, to be honest. Again, why am I always looking at Connecticut? Because that's where I live. So yeah, I'm going to look at what my state's doing, of course, as well. Connecticut has the second lowest average transportation cost. So what's interesting about that is, again, we're known for having some of the higher salaries in the country. We're like 9th or 6th or whatever it was. We have a very high cost of living in the top 10, but our transportation is really, really low. So where does that money come from that makes it be more expensive to live in Connecticut? We're going to find out, obviously. New Jersey, New York. New York is actually interesting because I never would have guessed New York, honestly, but because, you have taxes everywhere, you have everybody's transportation everywhere. Driving in New York City is like a madhouse, and it's absolutely insane, but so New York's there, 46, interesting. States with the highest real estate costs, very important stuff, looking at house prices, mortgage payments, and everything else by state. Number 1, this is absolutely ridiculous. $837,000 is the median home price. Now, if you have ever taken a statistics class, either high school, college, or you're listening to me now talk about it, here's what you guys need to understand. Medians are better measurements compared to averages. Okay? The median focuses on where you are in terms of, you look at all the data values, you look at the middle part of it. That's your median. It's like the middle part, right? So you have all this data organized. The middle number is your median home price. This is better because there's a lot less variability. Averages have more variability because if you have houses that are like 200,000, 200,000, 300,000, and you have Bill Gates' house at like 6.7 million, that 6.7 million is going to bring up that average home price by a crap ton, and it's going to make it not look legit. So medians are better measurements of looking at what we're paying about, give or take. So Hawaii, number one at $837,000 with a monthly mortgage payment of $5,000. Goodness. California, number two. Massachusetts, number three. Washington, Colorado, Utah, Oregon, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Montana. Interestingly enough, New York is not in the top 10. Connecticut's not either, which I'm kind of shocked about also. But New York, especially not in the top 10, is really shocking to me. Because you have those $1 million, apartments in New York City and all that kind of stuff there. So it's interesting to note that. Again, I think Hawaii is really the most expensive one because of, the location. I don't know if this number is up more because of the recent fires they had out there, like a little over a year ago, I think it was at this point. And they lost a lot of homes. They're rebuilding it, which costs more because rebuilding houses these days is expensive because of inflation and everything else. So very interesting. And then the lowest of the low, the 10 cheapest median home prices: West Virginia, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Kentucky, Iowa, Kansas, Ohio, Alabama. Mostly southern states, as you will see, or towards the south, I should say. Median home price is $155,000. Whew. Wouldn't mind buying a house out that way. But again, when you look at these home prices, you're like, oh man, I gotta move to West Virginia, I gotta move to Mississippi. Keep in mind, right? Because I'm looking at these like, man, I wish I had that. But keep in mind, right? The average salaries are less. The cost of living is probably, maybe a little bit, it's not changing that much, right? So with me making, say I make like $70,000 up here, it might be equivalent to $50,000 down there. So you gotta keep that idea in mind, that it's not just like you have the exact same pay if you go hit somewhere else, unless you're remote, most likely, or you transfer to a different company, or you transfer to a different state from the company, or whatever. But, when you usually move, you have different incomes as well. States with the highest cost for rent. Oh boy, because renting is obviously what people are doing because houses are expensive, as we know. And as you will see, Connecticut squeaks in at the top 10, and I am currently renting. Thank you, Connecticut. You never let me down. Hawaii, California, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York, Maryland, Florida, New Hampshire, Colorado, Connecticut. $1,609 there. Hawaii is $2,400. Makes sense. California, again, these are the higher ones. New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York. See, New York I prefer rent. Interesting. They're here for rent, but not for home prices. And the lowest 10 rentals are... Hello? I can just sort by this, I guess. Oh, they must have a couple states not counted for here, because it was 43, 44, 40. That's so weird. What is happening here? Yeah, all right. Well, we are looking at... Yeah, it's weird. So they must have forgotten like 4 states, I guess. Or maybe it's public data, so maybe some of the 4 states didn't give public data. I don't know. North Dakota, $8.69 for rent. Iowa, $9.72. South Dakota, $1 more. It was $9.73. Kentucky, $9.88. So on, and so forth. Again, similar things. You'll start to notice some patterns here about living in these states versus these states. Cost of living, this, and this. So you start to kind of notice these patterns, these trends here. Median monthly housing costs. So buying a house or putting down a security deposit or rental property requires a chunk of money. So housing costs includes the median. Again, looking at medians again, which is good. Medians are a lot better and they don't have as much variability or fluctuation as much. Let's take a look here. So they can look at homeowners insurance, property taxes, and utilities. Same states, top 10. This is top 15 now. California, Hawaii, Massachusetts. So Connecticut, yep, top 8. Great. Thank you, Connecticut. We're actually higher than New York. Stupid, but all right, whatever. So again, here's your top 15 states here. And then the lowest ones are like half of that, if not more than half cheaper. In this case, West Virginia, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, Food prices, as we know, with inflation, things are going through the roof with prices. People always talk about how inflation is killing the foods and everything else. Alaska, Hawaii. Again, reason why, imports, exports, getting food in, it's not easy. I watch those videos all the time about people who will be like, watch me do a grocery shopping haul, and I'm going to do it for a month, and they drop like $1,500 or $1,700 or whatever it is. I'm like, oh my God, that's insane. But again, it's supply and demand. It's importing things. It's paying the import fees because, again, you got to fly things to Hawaii or take them on a boat or whatever it is, right? So that definitely plays a huge part, and that's why Alaska's one of the top ones. Obviously, also, if you're way up in Alaska, it's harder to get food because you might be somewhere that's not as populated compared to other places like New York and everything else. So top 15 right here for total annual food costs, which is great. And then the lowest ones, we're looking at about almost half of that, Oklahoma, Texas. I haven't seen Texas on a lot of these. It's kind of shocking because I know, like, I always see like videos on real estate about Texas being like super, super nice houses for like the same price of a crappy house up here. So Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, you guys get the idea. These similar ones here. Highest cost for healthcare. This is going to be fun. Okay. And I'm going to explain why. Okay. Highest cost for healthcare. Alaska, New York, Massachusetts, Delaware. Healthcare we know is ridiculous in the country. Connecticut is number 7 at about right here. You're like, oh, why do you care so much, Fridge? It's 7th. Like, who cares? Do you know what happens if you go into Google and you type in the following thing? Insurance. I already did it before to double check it. Insurance capital of the world. Oh. That's the capital of Connecticut, baby. Oh, God, Connecticut. We are known as Hartford is well known as the insurance capital of the world, although there are 150 insurance companies located in the region. Thanks, Connecticut. So again, we have Aetna, the Hartford, Travelers, and Chubb. I've never heard of Chubb, but Travelers, the Hartford, Aetna. Aetna's a huge one that is it was bought out, that was acquired by CVS, I believe, a while ago. Insurance capital of the world. Connecticut. So if you hate your insurance, please don't hate me, but you can hate our states, okay? Because we're known as the insurance capital of the world and everything else. So top 10 for healthcare there. Lowest ones are Utah, Idaho, Texas, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Colorado, Again, about half, a little bit less than half of what it is for the top 10. States with the highest income taxes, same thing, Hawaii, New York. You're getting the pattern here. The nice thing is here, I do not see Connecticut in the top 10. How awesome is that? Are we in the bottom 10? Absolutely not. No. But, so here are your lowest 10. Again, if I'm going too fast, obviously pause the video. We're looking at an 18-minute video here. But so looking at cost of living here by state, right? Top 10 highest states, top 10 lowest states to live in, and everything else. It's insane, and I think it's always cool to look at this data to see what's going on here. And people will, like I said, people will say all the time, I'm going to move here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. You got to keep in mind about what's called the cost of living. Because again, if you have a cheaper home down in the south, your cost of living is also going to be cheaper. If you have a more expensive home in the north, you're going to be having a higher cost of living and higher price and everything else. So it's not as easy as just saying, like, I'm going to make 70 grand and then move down to Florida, because it's not as easy as you might think it is. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you learned something new and maybe you saw your state as to where it is. If you want to use this, go on to Forbes, look at cost of living by state. You can type in your own state if you would like to, so you can see where you rank. Thank you so much for watching, and if you made this fun the video, make sure to consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, leave any comments you have down below about your states. Hope you guys are making money in the market and able to afford your cost of living here, and I will see you guys in the next video.